Alright, today we're working on our test study guide and we're starting with that section on scientific notation. For these we're just going to do some operations, but you might be expected to turn it into scientific notation or back. To find the product, all we need to do is use our calculator. So make sure you have your calculator ready. And make sure that it is in scientific notation mode. That means turn it on and hit your mode. If the normal is highlighted, then it's going to give you out normal numbers, but if the scientific notation is highlighted, then it's going to spit it out in scientific notation. So to change that, all you have to do is move your little cursor around and hit enter over the one you want. So I want scientific, so I'm hitting enter over that one. Alright, so now let's hit second mode again to get out of that window. And let's type this in exactly as we see it. So parentheses, 3.84 times 10 to the second. You could also use the square key instead of saying to the second. And then we can start a new set of parentheses there. 13 times 10 to the negative fourth. Make sure you end that set of parentheses and then hit enter. Now it's giving us a lot of information there. You only need to round it to two places. So I'm going to round that to 1.97 because my next 9 rounds up my 6. So 5 and above, give it a shove. 4 and below, leave it alone. And then you say times 10. And it's telling me my exponent, that's what the E stands for, of -1. Let's clear that out and let's go to our next one. This one says find the quotient. Now even though I didn't put them, and it never will, you need to make sure you put parentheses in your calculator or you'll be getting the wrong answer. So we're going to start parentheses, say 9.8 times 10 to the negative fourth. Oops, forgot my negative. In parentheses, divide. Now he promised me he wasn't going to bark today, and he's already barking. I apologize for him. And start parentheses again, 5.843 times 10 to the 6. Now make sure you get your division in between these. We need that because this one is division, not multiplication. Hit enter. We get a very long number. That's why we're going to round it just to two places. We're going to say that's 1.68 times 10 to the negative 10th. So 10 to the 10th. Remember that our negative exponents means that these are decimal numbers. If those were positive, then they'd be very, very big regular numbers. Alright, next section says order them from least to greatest. You do not need your calculator for this one. All we have to do is look at their exponents. So the smaller the exponent, the smaller it is. And I have two negative exponents. They are the exact same exponent, so I'm going to go a step further and look at their bases too. My 6.75 is smaller than my 9.2. This is like saying $6.75. This one's like saying $9.20. So we're going to go ahead and pick that one as our least number. So 6.75 times 10 to the negative 5. And then my other negative number one goes next. So negative exponent is always small. Finally, my biggest one is that 10 squared. So I'm going to say 5.83 times 10 squared. So least to greatest. Make sure you read. Sometimes we switch those around. We say greatest to least. Section 2 says lines and curves of best fit. So I've given you a table of prom ticket sales. I label this one X and Y. If it's not labeled, it's still X and Y. And this is another calculator section. So for this one, let's first make sure we're out of scientific mode. I don't want to put everything in scientific notation for this table. And I'm going to go into my stat key. So that one was right here. If you want to see where I hit, right here, stat. Now the first thing is what we need, so go ahead and hit enter. And my L1 is my X column, my L2 is my Y column. If you're missing your L1 or your L2, reset your calculator. Someone's messed it up. Just hit your second and your plus key down here, and that'll take you into memory and let you reset. So if you're missing L1 and L2, go ahead and reset that calculator and get that back to new. Alright, so I'm going to enter my x's exactly as I see them. 1, 2, 5, 7, 10. Now notice I'm hitting enter in between. You can also use the down key. Then I'm going to use my arrow over, and I'm going to enter my bottom row right here, making sure that these line up and these line up and that these line up, and so on. So I'm going to say 30, enter, 35, enter, 55, enter, 60, enter, and 70, enter. Now that I've got this entered, I can go find my equation for the line of best fit. My calculator is going to tell it to me. So I have to hit my stat key again, but this time I want to go over here to calc. So I'm going to hit the arrow over, and I want the LinReg. That's line of best fit right there. It stands for linear regression. So option number 4, and hit enter to make it work. So I'm hitting enter a little off screen there. So it's telling me everything I need to know. It tells me what it looks like, y equals ax plus b. And that's telling me what to plug in for a and b. So let's round to 2 places every time. So I'm going to say that this is y equals, my a is 4.54, x plus my b 27.31. So 27.31. It's a little bit of a squeeze to get it all in there. Alright. Now I'm going to use that equation for the next piece. It says find out how many tickets, and tickets were our y value, expected to be sold on day 13. So day is our x value. So I'm telling you that x equals 13, and we need to plug that in. So let's use our calculator real quick. This is nice and simple. We know what the equation is going to be, and we just need to say this times our x, so 13 plus 27.31. So that's what we're going to do. So I've got 4.54 times 13. Now that 13 came from right here, day 13, and that's one of my new x values. Plus 27.31. Hit enter, and that is how many tickets you can expect to sell. Now we're going to round that to the nearest whole number because you can't sell a third of a ticket. So 86 is my final value there. Alright, now our next one asks for the quadratic curve of best fit. I might just ask for quadratic model or quadratic equation, or I might just say the equation of the curve. But both of these are talking about our quadratic regression, so we're going to use option 5 instead of option 4. Before we get there, hit your stat key. We need to put in our new table. So I'm going to go ahead and say edit, and I need to clear out what's there. Don't hit delete, hit clear. So go up to the L2 up here, make sure you use the up arrow to get there. Hit clear and then the down arrow, and it will clear out the whole list for you really quickly. Then you can go over here to L1, hit clear and then down, clears out the whole list for you, no problem. Now you have a couple options for years. You can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or you could just put in the entire year. That's really up to you. Putting in the entire year might take a little bit extra work now, but is less work later. So that's what I'm going to do. So 1847, 1848, 1849, 1850, 1851, and 1852. Then I'm going to go over to L2, which is our Y column. I'm going to put in my populations for those years. So it starts out pretty small for this town. It starts getting bigger. And a little bit bigger. Actually a lot bigger. And a lot bigger again. And then suddenly we're going downhill again. So judging by the time period, Gold Rush maybe? Now that I've got all my information in there, I'm going to go ahead and hit my Stat key again and go over to Calc. Now remember I said this one's the QuadReg. That stands for Quadratic Curve of Best Fit. So we're going to go down to number 5, or you can just hit number 5 and hit Enter to make it work.